Nowadays, people prefer doing whatever they want without caring about what others think. But here's the thing, do these choices mess up their image and future? Let's talk about FBG Duck for a sec. He's not around anymore, and some folks might argue that he could tell what was coming for him. But his mom, Lashina Weekly, turned to OnlyFans and started her own gig as a big girl on the platform. Now it's a big fuss between keeping Duck's memory and paying the bills. Is it fair to judge her choices though? Landslide. Carlton Weekly, known to many as FBG Duck, was born on December 6, 1993, in Chicago, Illinois. He made a name for himself as a key member of the rap group FBG, short for Flyboy Gang, or sometimes known as Clout Boys. But he wasn't just part of a crew. He also had a successful solo career. His mixtapes, including the 2017 hit Gang Anthem, showcased his talent and passion for music. In case you wondered, he was also actually associated with the Gangster Disciple Gang, primarily operating in the southeast of Chicago. As a kid, Duck had a passion for sports, with football being his standout talent. But it was his friendships that pretty much defined his story. One of his closest friends, Tuka, was shot and killed at a bus stop in 2011, leaving Duck with the pain of loss. Tragically, Duck's life ended while he was out shopping in the Gold Coast neighborhood by several bullets. By then, he had achieved significant recognition in the music industry. His 2018 single Slide got over 18 million views on YouTube, and even got a remix from fellow rapper 21 Savage. In fact, after Slide's success, Duck signed with Sony and released the Big Cloud EP. He was really proud of his achievements, and in 2018, he dropped 2 more albums, Look at Me 2 Inches and Big Clout. These would be his final albums before his untimely passing. You'll see that members of the FBG crew lent their talents to these albums. On a personal note, FBG Duck had connections within the music industry that ran deep. He was cousins with rappers J.H.E. Ruga and J.H.E. Al.
Pops, he called me. He was like, yeah, Duck just got shot, you feel me? And I'm like, damn, just got shot. But I'm not thinking of nothing too major about the way he said it. It was like he just got shot, like.
Beyond family ties, he shared close friendships with artists like Lil Jojo, FYBJ Maine, King Yella, Billionaire Black, Wooski, and K.I. Among his closest companions was fellow Chicago rapper Famous Dex. They were so tight that at one point they lived together. Unfortunately, their friendship eventually took a sour turn when Dex distanced himself from Duck and the rest of FBG. But beyond his music persona, Duck was quite different from the tough image some may have had of him. In a post, he revealed that he was, in reality, misunderstood. This could have been his overall personality, though. In 2019, Duck decided to take a breather from releasing full albums. Instead, he treated his fans to a collection of more than 12 single tracks. Among these tracks were hits like Strong, Sicario, featuring Ed Stark, and his final release, Dead B. Unfortunately, 2019 also brought about a distressing incident in his life. He was involved in a stabbing incident with his girlfriend. In a video for his track, Who the F is Dude, he openly showed the wound that ran down his entire stomach, a proof of the ordeal he went through. Throughout his relatively short career, spanning just 5 years, Duck managed to release 4 records. But what really made it amazing was the multitude of solo singles and collaborations he crafted with his crew. They were a force to be reckoned with. But you know, in the rap scene, it's quite hard not to be in a beef with anybody. Duck got himself in beef with several other artists, including those from Glory Boys Entertainment, GBE, and Only the Family OTF. Chief Keef, GBE's frontman, dissed Took a Gang in multiple tracks, sparking a retaliatory response from Duck and his FBG associates. The rivalry extended to Lil Durk and OTF, with disses flying back and forth. Duck also had a notable feud with fellow Chicago rapper E-Die. It even spilled into their music, with Duck teaming up with Lil J for the track Who the F is Dude, which was a direct shot at E-Die. Social media also played a role, with tweets and online exchanges heating up the tensions. Meanwhile, Duck had an ongoing feud with rapper 6ix9ine. These personal and artistic conflicts painted a vivid backdrop to FBG Duck's life, where friendships were tested, rivalries ignited, and controversies never seemed far away. August 4th, 2020 marked a tragic day in Chicago's history as FBG Duck faced a devastating fate. While he was out shopping in the city, he was ruthlessly assassinated by 4 individuals who emerged from 2 cars. They unleashed a hail of bullets, striking Duck with over 16 gunshot wounds, grievously injuring his neck, chest, and groin. On the scene, investigators would later uncover a total of 38 shell casings, a grim testament to the violence that unfolded. In a bid for cover, Duck sought refuge beside a dark sedan vehicle, but the assailants showed no mercy, relentlessly firing upon him. Nearby, an injured woman who had tried to return fire and another man, probably a fan, were also wounded. Despite the horrifying situation, police arrived at the scene but couldn't provide immediate assistance. Duck, still alive and fighting, lay wounded for about 20 minutes with no CPR performed to relieve the bleeding. Eventually, paramedics arrived, but by then, it was too late. Duck had lost a devastating amount of blood, and his body finally succumbed on the line stretcher. He was later pronounced dead, a pretty devastating moment for those who followed his life and music. His injuries might have been unsurvivable if he'd probably been taken to the hospital on time. No suspects were arrested in 2020, but the motive behind his assassination appeared to be linked to a mockery of a rival gang member who had already passed away. Fingers pointed towards O-Block affiliates, who many folks believed to be involved in the hit. However, months later, Duck's cousin, BCR Meezy, was also shot and killed, but it wasn't until 2021 that things started unfolding. The Chicago Police Department announced the arrest of 5 suspects connected to Duck's murder, all affiliated with the notorious O-Block gang. But one of the gang members, Zell Muna, had taken his own life 2 months before all that. Later, new information came up that one of them had acquired a vehicle just 2 days before the fatal shooting. Surveillance footage traced the vehicle's journey from Parkway Gardens to Oak Street in downtown Chicago, where Duck was ambushed on a crowded street. 2 gunmen emerged from the vehicle, opening fire on the rapper and injuring 2 others before fleeing from the scene. It still doesn't change the fact that a star, brother, friend, and son had been taken away from those who really needed him, especially his mother. Always a mama boy. Different people surely have opinions on what a mama's boy means, just the same way everybody has different sentiments about their moms. For FBG Duck, he wasn't too shy to talk about his mother. From a song he was featured in, he chipped in how his mother nurtured him in the path he was in, and you could tell that he cherishes how his mother was instrumental in his rap success. When I was young, mama taught me how to count up. I ran through them hundreds. Mama showed me how to count up. I ran through them hundreds. I ran through them hundreds, my mama say. One day you gon' fall in love, until I fell in love with money. Ooh. The most reassuring moment was when his mom could also recount being a part of his story. In an interview, she fondly recalls those days as she reflects on her son's journey, talking about the movie she used to adore, The 5 Heartbeats, in which she remembers how Duck and JT had lit up the screen, exuding that undeniable star quality that left an impression. Returning to that movie was a turning point. It was then that she decided to give her boy a unique nickname, something that would set him apart. So when she gave birth, she noticed his lips were shaped just like a duck's beak. So she decided to nickname him Baby Duck, and it became a name that would bring him fame.
It was like kind of one of my favorite movies, and one day I just decided, I say, I'm gonna nickname this Baby Duck.
As he grew, it became evident that Duck had a flair for music. She often thought about the tunes that filled their home. However, it was Chris Brown, as she recalled, that truly captivated Duck. His passion for music was undeniable.
As he grew up, he was like musically inclined. I listened to a lot of Silk and Jodeci.
She also remembers a day when her son was just a little guy, around 6 years old. He used to spell out Usher Raymond and dance with his pinky finger. It was something else, watching him move like he was born to be on stage. That was the start of Duck's musical journey, way before 63rd, which is just another way to say the Gangster Disciples became a big part of their lives. You see, when she was growing up, she had dreams of being a star, just like her son. She went to Martin Luther King High School and even dabbled in drama and music, sneaking into classes she wasn't officially part of. But when she didn't quite make it to where she wanted, she saw an opportunity in her son's talent. She wanted to be like Joe Jackson, guiding her child toward a future in music. To her, his voice was a gift, and she felt like it was her duty to nurture it. She knew it was his calling, the path he was meant to follow. As he got older, she saw how he brought people together. He had this special knack for bringing 2 opposing groups together and keeping the peace. With Duck in the picture, there was no way the harmony could be disrupted because he was pals with everyone. His presence commanded respect, and people looked up to him.
Like he would just take over the stage, and I would be in the crowd watching him, and I could hear people like, who is shouting in the number 7 jersey? He taking over the stage. So
She couldn't help but think about the jam sessions they used to have in the basement. They'd gather around, jam out to some tunes, and chat about music. This was way before the band, before the world knew about the musical genius her son had. But even back in those basement gatherings, what they called ciphers, she saw that spark of something incredible in him, even though she had a bunch of other kids in her big family to keep her busy. They'd have these get-togethers, those ciphers. Music was the glue that held them all together. They'd play tracks, talk about what was hot, and just have a blast. Those were her good old days. In her eyes, he was the Chris Brown of the neighborhood. And it turns out, he wasn't just all talk. Her cousin, recognizing Duck's talent, made him an offer he couldn't refuse: perform and earn $10. That was the beginning of fame for Duck, who wasn't shy and wouldn't work for free. So when the opportunity came, he seized it. His rendition of Chris Brown's performance was pretty much impressive. She liked her son's determination to get compensated for his talent, even back then. And if you followed his line, "My mama say, one day you gon' fall in love until I fell in love with money," ooh, you could tell that he had this unshakable belief in himself, a confidence that set him apart. But with growth came several other paths that he crossed, especially with the gangster disciples, and then other rival gangs that severed that bond with his mother. Age is just a number. Since Lashina Weekly lost her son, FBG Duck, who by the way isn't the first of her children to be killed in gang violence, she's been all up on the media. She wasn't really active prior to his death. Her appearance back in 2020 after his death was in a press conference to address the chaos in Chicago as it was becoming a hotbed for rap stars. In her words, "I am here today to ask for peace in the city of Chicago. I am asking that his fans and friends of my son to please not seek retaliation in the death of my son. As his mother, I want to say please put the guns down so that the generation of tomorrow can grow and live a long and healthy life," she added. After that, she was seen crying after almost a year over the car gifted to her by her late son. According to her, it was the last gift given to her by Duck before he died that she could have held on to. In an Instagram video where she could be seen mourning the totally smashed car, she was like, "God is good and I was not driving in some spending almost hit us. Thank God I'm okay." It seemed like it just went from one drama to the after each time she showed up, because she went almost unnoticed till early 2023 when she popped up on the news for creating an account on OnlyFans. Not only that, boasted about it in an interview as her means of survival. Well, OnlyFans is proving to be a real money maker for hip-hop women who post sexy pics and vids. Bod Bobby says she made a cool $1 million in just 6 hours after joining, and Iggy Azalea made a whopping $307K in just one day on her page. Mom Duck was absolutely confident during the interview. She didn't apologize for her choices. She said, "I'm all grown up so I can do whatever I want," and she made it clear that her content was top-notch. She talked about how since she was a kid she never cared what other people thought about her. She wished she had started her OnlyFans gig earlier, because then it seems it had potential. In her words, "I don't want to be tooting my own horn, but 35 in a week? I wish I would have thought about this years ago." She didn't back down from the misconceptions about OnlyFans. She told everyone it wasn't just about explicit stuff, but also about supporting her family. To those who hadn't subscribed, she simply told them to be quiet. She proudly mentioned her success thanks to the media buzz. She raked in $35K in just 1 week, but she didn't spill all the beans. She wanted to keep her private life. Well, private, but it wasn't like fans were having it. Many dissed her online and said some things like, "I can hear Dirk now. The ops died. Now they mama's doing OnlyFans." And stuff like, "Everyone who bought that got a first-class ticket to hell." Well, she didn't let the mixed reviews and haters get to her. Some of those haters even subscribed to her content and tried to talk to her. She didn't let it bother her. She reminded everyone that she wasn't old and saw this as a prime time in her life. She looked back at how the internet had changed a lot. When she was growing up, these platforms weren't as common, but she stayed true to herself and grabbed the opportunities that came her way. She didn't sugarcoat things. She spoke her mind and didn't hide her sensual side, proudly calling herself a freaky mama. She believed there was no shame in embracing her desires and being herself, because age is just a number. Still, she emphasized her identity as a woman and her love for her children. This, she believed, was the core of her being. Her upbringing had instilled in her a resourcefulness that she carried forward. When questioned about her decision to start an OnlyFans account, she shrugged off the notion that it was a carefully calculated choice. Instead, it seemed to have arisen naturally from suggestions she received on social media. It may seem as though a lot of folks had urged her to consider it based on the provocative photos she posted on Snapchat and Instagram. She didn't see it as anything out of the ordinary, as those same photos often made their debut on her other platforms first. After the podcast, the rapper's mom went on Instagram to show off her money, but it turns out she stretched the truth a bit. She shared a screenshot from her OnlyFans account on her story, and it says she made $24,618.80 from January 1st to February 21st. Well, it's not quite the huge $35,000 a week she talked about in the video, but almost $25,000 in less than 2 months is still pretty huge. Thinking of the attention her content had gotten, she mentioned a particular image featuring her alongside a male companion, which had sparked quite a huge reaction and drew the attention of the No Jumper Man. She couldn't help but brush off any misconceptions. In her view, the talk and chatter that surrounded her was simply a testament to her presence. If they weren't talking about you, she believed, you weren't anybody worth talking about. With that, it became clear that she sort of was pretty well aware of what she was doing, and that it had nothing to do with her late son, but her choice. It seemed to die down a bit, not until a video started making the rounds on the internet about Mom Duck captured during a heated argument with a man on a live stream. The setting appeared to be in a driveway outside a home, and from the video and conversation conversations, it suggested that the man in question is her boyfriend, or possibly her child's father. What caused the altercation was not really clear, but she could be heard repeatedly saying, "Don't pull your car out." She was trying to leave before the person she was arguing with backed their vehicle out of the driveway. The clip showed two cars parked closely together in the driveway. So a little while later, this one lady decided she's going to move her car, probably the one that was in the way of Mom Duck's boyfriend. In the middle of all the mess, someone threatened to call the cops, and then there's this guy standing by his white Infiniti, yelling at Mom Duck's mom, accusing her of touching him and blocking his car. She was like, "Nuh-uh, I didn't touch you." Things kept heating up, and Mom Duck kept begging everyone to let her go first. But then, out of nowhere, she's banging on a car window like, "Stop, stop!" And then the video just cuts off. All we hear is her shouting, my leg," which makes you think she might have gotten hurt, maybe because the car moved while she was still around it. But the video doesn't show what happened next, so we don't know how it all turned out. But despite all the drama, she seems to be doing okay and just cherishing the memories of her son. Life can throw some crazy stuff at you, but she's holding on, and that's what matters in the end. The O Block Cycle. Chicago, also called Chirac by gang members, unfortunately holds the title of being one of the most dangerous places in America today. The city's murder and homicide rates have soared to unprecedented levels, surpassing those of many other states. With all the scary violence happening, it's pretty clear why it's going on. A big chunk of it comes from the never-ending fights between gangs like the O-Block gangsters and the gangster disciples. It's got people wondering what's going to happen to families. I mean, think about the families of those up-and-coming stars. And what about the ones who've already lost family members? It's a tough situation all around. Late rapper King Von's family life was quite a roller coaster, growing up alongside his half-siblings from both parents, with his mom taking on most of the parenting duties because his dad, Walter, spent a lot of time behind bars. Walter's absence was a big deal. Even though Von's relationship with his dad was shaky, Walter still had a lasting impact on his life. He only showed up when Von was 8, and still Von paid tribute to him in his song Exposing Me, with the lyrics, "Rest in peace to Silk from Ada Park." That was the older me. Wanting to make a change, Von decided to do something his dad couldn't do for him, secure a better future for his family. He made sure that his 2 kids would always have money by holding on to the royalties from his music. Did he somehow know his time was running out? The rapper's smart business moves mean that his kids have a bright future ahead. He never sold his song rights and kept all his music earnings. That money would take care of his kids and family for generations. His manager, Track, made it clear that they were committed to looking after Von's closest family, setting up trust funds and financial security for his mom, siblings, and his 2 kids. His son found comfort in a teddy bear with his daddy's voice, which to him was a keepsake to treasure forever. And there's a silver lining in all this. Von's kids can also count on support from his ex, Asian Doll. After Von's tragic passing, there was a connection between Kima, one of Von's baby mamas, and Doll. They both recognized the importance of coming together during this tough time. As for XXXTentacion, another rapper with a tragic story, despite his youth and the way things ended with him, he had taken the prudent step of preparing for the unexpected. He made the decision to secure his assets in a trust, a move that wasn't anticipated by a young teen. Remarkably, he was just 19 years old when he officially signed his will way back in November 2017. This choice kind of feels like he knew something, you know? Like he understood how life can be fragile. He actually talked about it on Instagram Live half a year before his sad passing. He said,
"I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice. I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life, regardless of the negative around my name, regardless of the bad things people say to me. I don't give a."
Following his untimely death, his mom, Cleopatra, took the responsibility of filing her son's will in court. The document identified her, along with X's 2 brothers, Aiden Kerr and Corey Pack, as his beneficiaries. Notably, X's will did not make any provisions for his unborn child, as it had been crafted prior to the child's conception. Gay Kiyumi, his son with Genesis Sanchez, was born several months early into the following year after XX passed. Following a legal dispute that wasn't quite necessary, Sanchez and X's mother reached an agreement ensuring that the estate would also provide for the child's well-being. That aside, Juice WRLD also left something for his family to hold on to. In a statement given, the mother of the late rapper, Carmela Wallace, poured her heart out, saying, "We love Jared with all of our hearts and cannot believe our time with him has been cut short." She also said some things about what her son often addressed in his music and with his devoted followers. Jared often battled with prescription drug dependency. Juice's lyrics often touched on the topic of drugs, but his family clarifies that it wasn't to promote their use. Instead, it was a heartfelt attempt to reach out to those grappling with addiction, letting them know they weren't alone in their struggle. His mother in grieving had heavy words to convey the condition of her heart. Addiction knows no boundaries, and its impact goes way beyond the person fighting it. Jared was a son, brother, grandson, friend, and so much more to so many people who wanted more than anything to see him defeat addiction. Amidst all these cases, there's one that really makes you go, uh-oh. Despite his tremendous success in both music and movies, DMX left behind a complicated financial situation. It was a big financial puzzle when he passed away, and surprisingly, he didn't leave a will, so it was a bit of a mess. He had lots of debts and was even bankrupt. Right after he left us, his huge family jumped into the mix. He had 15 kids with 9 different women, and they all wanted a piece of his money. But the question is, did DMX ever think about a plan for all this? While his estate grappled with financial challenges, the focal point of contention among his loved ones was the management of the late rapper's recording and publishing royalties, a treasure trove of future income potential. It was estimated that his total royalties, encompassing a posthumous album, master recording royalties, and licensing opportunities, was at a staggering $17.7 million. With substantial wealth at stake and the confusing nature of having a large and scattered family, the rapper's failure to get into estate planning increased the prolonged legal disputes among his heirs. One person in the family who may have found herself particularly affected was DMX's fiancée, Desiree Lindstrom. Although DMX and Desiree were engaged and had been together for 7 years, their unmarried status and the absence of estate planning meant that she might inherit nothing from her late partner's substantial fortune. But because of her child with him, Exodus Simmons, she fought and got to a long list of agreements with other family members. DMX's case was sadly not unique among famous musicians, but FBG Duck himself left his mother a precious car gift that she was too sad to let go of when it was smashed. Although he had little knowledge of what would sever the bond between him and his family, it was on that basis his mother had to do what she had to do. Life's about choices, to leave or stay, to support, build, and thrive for those we love, even if it means risking it all. Want more stories like this? Just click those cards on your screen.